the caliphate was located, but also the extent of the Islamic world in the post-classical age. If you look at this, the areas that are shaded in tend to be the areas where there are many different trade networks. And that's not by accident, because if there's one theme of world history that you walk away with after this year, it's that religion and trade are very, very, very interconnected. Religion spread through trade. Sometimes the spread of religion helps trade, and this is one of those cases where both are true. So if we look down here, we can say that, Islam is spreading to West Africa. Right? West Africa historically is a very different civilization than Arabia and these other areas that are, historically Islamic. So it's spreading to West Africa, and also Islam spreads to these Swahili city-states. Basically, as these merchants are traveling throughout this world, they're bringing their religion with them. They're discussing their ideas and converting people along the way. And that happens all the way across this world. So, to show you the full extent of this, I want to tell you a story about a guy named Mansa Musa. One of the coolest names in history, Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa, let me pull up this other map over here. Is it this one? No. That one. Mansa Musa, I'm going to go back up to this one, is the king of this West African kingdom called Mali. I'll show that on this map here. So basically Mali is, let me make sure I have my frame of reference right. Basically all of this right here. This is the kingdom of Mali. Kingdom of Mali. That's where Mansa Musa comes from. And as you guys can see on this map, the Kingdom of Mali is incredibly rich in gold. And this guy, Mansa Musa, who is the king, he gets incredibly rich off of this gold salt trade that happens in West Africa. Basically, because of the Trans-Saharan trade network, as you can see here, he gets incredibly rich off of this trade. In addition to that, Mansa Musa converted to Islam. Basically, as the king of this West African kingdom, he wants to get in with the caliphate up here and these other powerful and wealthy Islamic kingdoms that are in other parts of this Islamic world. And if you become a Muslim, you become part of the Ummah, right? Like you are now part of this Islamic community. So it's basically like if he converts, he now has more of a connection, more of an in with these other kings. So that's one of the reasons that historians think that this tended to happen. But because he converted to Islam, he wanted to do what every good Muslim is supposed to do, go on the Hajj. And you guys can actually see on this map, this dotted line is the route that Mansa Musa took to go on the Hajj. So he starts here in Mali, makes his way up to Cairo, through Arabia, and then to Mecca. So he goes on the Hajj. And as the story goes, you can see this, he stops in Cairo along the way. And according to the historical record at the time, Mansa Musa spent so much gold, he was so rich, when he got to Cairo, he built houses for his attendants. Like, he had such a big group of people, he built houses for them. He gave so much gold away to the poor that he flooded the Cairo market with, I'm talking with my hands, so he floods the Cairo market with gold. And the effect of this is that because there's so much gold in Cairo, it actually causes the value of gold to drop a huge amount for like several decades even after he left. Basically, he single-handedly caused inflation in Cairo, which is pretty incredible. And I say that to emphasize a couple of points here. First, well, actually, let me catch up here. Goes on the Hajj and spends so much money he causes inflation. Right. And this tells us a couple of points here. It demonstrates a couple of major things. First, Trans-Saharan trade it made people rich. Mansa Musa would not have gotten so incredibly rich had it not been for this trade. In addition to that, the fact that Mansa Musa, who lives over here in Mali, the fact that he is Islamic and he's so devout to this that he actually goes on the Hajj, I mean, this shows us that Islam is very much spreading along these trade routes. Very much spreading along these trade routes. And lastly, what this shows us, and basically what this map down here demonstrates, is that West Africa over here is very much part of this broader post-classical world, this broader trade network that existed at the time. Incredibly important. And I guess I should reference this right here. Basically what this is showing you, let me get this split image thing going on again. Basically what this is showing you, here it is. So here's the color image of this. This guy right here, that's Mansa Musa. So this is a primary source from the time period. And as you can see, because this is showing like this is the West African coast, North Africa, this is Spain up here. So there's a map. And what this shows us, I mean, like the fact that Mansa Musa is pictured as big as he is demonstrates he's a really powerful, important person. And in his hand right there, basically this right here, is a big chunk of gold. And the fact, like all of these different lines, this shows the connections, like the trade routes between different cities. Like that would be a city, this would be a city up here, and so on. And so, like, even at the time period, they're demonstrating their knowledge of this broader world, their connections with this broader world. When, in a lot of ways, we typically think of Africa as being kind of isolated and behind the times. And at this time, that was definitely not the case. So, pretty important stuff. So, at this point, public service message. I've been talking to a lot of students from last year, and to every single one of them tells me that you need to help your students get more prepared for junior year. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And basically, when you get to junior year, next year, Mr. Anderson, who teaches U.S. history, he's not going to give you any sort of prompting about what notes you should write down. He actually doesn't really give you guided notes at all. And it's up to you to follow along and prioritize that information that he's giving you and to make sense of it. So to help you guys prepare for this, that's why I wanted to do notebooks this year instead of guided notes. I'm going to be slowly phasing out my own annotations on these videos, and I'm going to expect you guys to follow along and kind of take your own notes. Now, I obviously didn't do that in this case. I annotated on the maps and so on, but it's important for you to go through and organize this in a way that makes sense. And I think in this case, it makes the most sense to think about it in terms of cause and effect. So what I want you guys to do is, based on these video notes, to write down what you see as the major causes and effects of, oops, I said Indian Ocean trade, my bad. This should say Trans-Saharan, typo, Trans-Saharan trade. So outline those using the video, using your notes, the annotations we made, and we'll start with this tomorrow. I will give you guys a key of what I would have expected you to find. Then when you finish, go ahead and answer these reflection questions. 2 of them are short answer questions like the ones you'll get on quizzes and tests. And if you're having any trouble with those, again, let me know, give me a call. Otherwise, I will see you on Monday, and have a great rest of your weekend.